holy, God of love, right? His main characters, main characteristics is God is holy. God is holy and loving. Yeah, these are two main, and of course it's righteous, and holiness actually includes part of righteousness. There's no wrong in him. It is different. It's different and distinguished. There's not an adequate word that describes what holiness is, but he's just very different. And there's no sin in him, there's no darkness, and he's loving. And so the second aspect is that he's loving, and so out of his love, he's giving us the commands. And so keep that in mind, and then that as the context. So what do you mean by Sabbath? So God created the universe, right? He created the heaven and the earth and everything in it. If you read Genesis 1, but why did he create the universe, right, in the beginning? Because there was nothing, it was chaotic, and there was no light, no energy. And he said, let there be light, and there was light. So as triune God, God the Father, Holy Spirit, and Jesus the Son created the universe. And why did they do that? He created the sun, moon, and stars at nighttime. It's so beautiful. I just came back from Korea, and it got longer than what I had anticipated. But while we were there, we saw like late fall because for some reason the weather was kind of unusual, and although it was November, it felt still like the fall, and so we saw green leaves turning red and brown and yellow, very, very beautiful, and the sky was clear. And then the following week, we actually saw the leaves falling, and then the following week we had snow, and the snowflakes were really big, and so in a few minutes it would pile up to here, to your knee level, and so that was really beautiful, and we just felt like God was blessing us for our trip to see different seasons in one trip. And God created the universe not just for his own enjoyment, but for our sake. So it's like waiting for a baby to come along. So when the woman is really pregnant, the parents start preparing a room and everything for the baby, right? The toys, milk bottles, and the paint the room, and the what do you call the mats, right? The play mats. And why do they do that? It's not for their sake. They do it so joyfully because, oh, my baby is coming, and I want him or her to feel comfortable and enjoy all the things that I'm giving as a gift, right? So that's why God created the universe, and he gave it to the human beings, and for 6 days. So 5 days he created all other things for the sake of human beings, including animals, the birds and fish, the trees, fruit-bearing trees, everything. And then on 6th day, he created, as the final and great grand masterpiece, human beings. And he created man and woman, and then he breathed unto them. So we human beings have the Spirit of God. That's what is different than the animals. Sometimes animals act really smartly, but we're qualitatively different in that we have the Spirit of God. And on the 7th day, God rested. Was he tired? Actually, God is very different from us, that he may watch over us and take care of us 24/7. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't have to slumber or sleep, right? So then he wasn't tired. He just wanted to set aside one day, called Sabbath, the 7th day, and he wanted to bless it and make it a day of celebration and day of rest. So when we say a day of rest, of course human beings, we as as human beings, you worked hard before, right? You know, there are times when you run businesses or when you study for a final exam, we're like nonstop, right? There are times when we just can't take a break, and we barely fall asleep, like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we still have to get up early, and we have to still go to work, right? Or start working or start studying. So, but then I saw, like when I got on the airplane, when is the last time you got on the plane? Recently?
Last week.
Last week? Oh, where did you go?
Salt Lake City.
Oh, Salt Lake City. Oh, that sounds so beautiful. Isn't it like so colorful with the
Snowing out there.
Oh, snowing! Alright. Did you go skiing? Oh, cool, cool. So, yeah, I just flew last week too. And when I flew in, you know, whenever you get up on the airplane, you see people just falling asleep, right? It might be because they've been packing all night long, or they were doing the last minute stuff like before they, you know, get on the plane. So we see that sometimes people are so tired, and I think partially because it's because we are still working on a Sabbath day, right? Let me get one more thing done, and I sometimes am guilty of that, and I try to refrain from it, but it's really hard, you know, to help my mom, or you know, make phone calls, or you know, go for, you know, I try not to show up on a Sunday, but there are times when it's inevitable. So then we don't get to rest, but rest is not as much of abstinence or withdrawing from activity, but I would say, you know, there are times when we're not feeling the peace, like we have like trouble going on, and then our mind is not at rest, like, oh, you might be like lying down and resting and not working, but your brain goes like, oh, you know what, I got like tons of things to do, or I got this matter and that matter to take care of, right? So it may be very difficult while you're physically comfortable, so then it's not really resting, right? Have you had like sleepless nights before? Yeah. Daniel, have you had like sleepless nights before? You never do? Or just so like at peace? Okay. Yeah, that's a blessing. But some people just can't rest, you know, while they're resting, right? Trying to rest. So then rest is more of receiving God's God's peace. Being in God's presence. Yeah, this morning was really difficult for me. It was really hard for me to like focus afterwards. But I asked God for His presence, and Lord, although I am not feeling comfortable or at peace right now, come with Your peace. Yeah, so entering into God's presence gives us peace, and so it doesn't mean that we should be working 24/7. We should not, but it's more of entering into God's presence while we're not doing all the things that keep us busy. And then it's a day of celebration. So God created the universe, the nature. He gave us sound so we can create music or listen to music, right? He gave us bodies, and little kids, naturally when you turn on music, they start dancing, right? It's because innately we're born with that instinct, right? Even the little ones, very little ones who don't understand the words, but they start dancing or shaking, right? So what has God given us as gifts for enjoyment? And He wants us to enjoy the things that He has given us, remembering that He's the one who gave us, right? So it's a day of celebration as well. God's creation and His protection, His grace and mercy, His provision, His wisdom, lessons and guidance. For just loving us. Yeah, so it's like so you know what, say, have you been to like other people's, have your friends gotten married? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? So if you are close friends with them, you see what they go through in order to get to the point of the wedding day, I guess, and afterwards too. But I've had a friend who actually spent 2 years preparing for a wedding. So I'm not laughing. I'm not, I'm not saying that as a bad idea, but that much she was invested. So she wanted to be really thorough about the wedding dress, the venue, the best venue that you cannot make a reservation for unless you make a reservation like 2 years before, right? And that's why she did that. And she carefully went through like how to select the rings and who to invite and arrangement of the seats, and she wanted to be just perfect. And she did have a perfect wedding, but while she was doing that, she wasn't as much celebrating and enjoying the relationship with her boyfriend, with her fiance, because whenever they got together, they were talking about the wedding, right? And on top of that, of course, life was going on, study and work and other things, right? So then she was very much stressed out, and I could tell, bringing in all the magazines for ideas and always calling, Taylor for like her dress, calling the people at the venue to come up with a certain menu, and she was very busy. Like I watched her for maybe 3 months, and she was constantly on the phone. I don't know how she could do that. So then it's not a bad idea. I'm not saying that that's bad and we shouldn't do, but while she was doing that, I could see that she wasn't as much enjoy, because it was very time consuming and energy consuming. And so sometimes I think we forget to celebrate what God has done for us. Yeah. Maybe I'm not an exception. So let's talk about something that you felt like a blessing. For the past month, in the past month, where have you found a blessing, especially a blessing from God? It could be anything.
I think like last week, I went to snowboarding, and then I fell on the top of the mountain. So it looked really bad, but I wore the helmet, so yeah, but I still heard like hip cracking kind of sounds from the helmet, so I checked it out, and luckily it didn't really crack out, but still,
Oh, so you fell?
Yeah.
And then, oh wow, so you were protected from a major injury?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After that, still heard something, some sound from my brain, but I hope it's nothing wrong.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel a bit dizzy, so.
oh.
But after I think, yeah, it should be alright. People say like, oh yeah, lucky about it because you hit like really fast.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm glad that you made it here.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes, protection, right? Yeah, thankful. How about you, Daniel? Where have you felt the blessing, like a blessing from God in the past month?
No, nothing special.
Nothing very special?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not thinking actively. I'm pretty sure that although maybe daily, sometimes I feel that it's the same all day, like same day, every day. But there's actually something special that we sometimes miss or not remember. Yeah, so as for me, I had many blessings in the past month. So at the beginning, I and my mom flew out to Korea, and we didn't have time for packing, so we just threw in whatever we thought might be needed, but mostly there were like gifts for people. And then when we arrived, and we were not sure where we would end up. Lodging was an issue, major issue actually, because we wanted to go initially in December, but then we actually made it earlier, so then like we had no time for anything. But we ended up, by the help of her friend, we stayed at the best place possible. So we were really thankful for the lodging, and she and I actually had this door that separated us, but we could open it anytime. So like, yeah, because she and I have different sleeping schedules. She goes to bed very early, like 7 o'clock, and I go to bed like 10, 11, 12. So like, yeah. So then it was really helpful that way, and also, yeah. And then when we flew out, we found out, oh, there's no clothes. Like I forgot to pack some of the clothes, and she doesn't know what happened to her clothes. So she had no pajamas, and you can't sleep in a tight outfit. So then I gave my pajamas to her, and then I wore my outdoor outfit and slept for like maybe 4 or 5 days. And then in the meantime, my friends and my sister packed so many things and brought it to us, so that we now have so much, so many clothes, including pajamas, and that was really helpful. So it's a blessing in disguise. If we had everything perfectly, then we don't need anybody's help. But we had to ask for help, and we could see how much her friends, my mom's friends, cared about my mom. I could feel how much I was cared for by my sister and my friends, by the way they packed and brought in so many gifts. On a Thanksgiving day, I had asked my mom, do you want me to reserve a Thanksgiving dinner, because it seems like it's pretty nice out there, but she was like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to pay for the cost, because it's going to be pricey, right? So I didn't. But then it turned out to be that one of our friends actually invited us to a nice dinner, very extravagant dinner where, it was just, very delicate, sophisticated course meal that they invited us to, and it was very special in that I felt love, and I felt that we were thanking each other, thanking God. And so it was a special Thanksgiving. And was just very helpful for me to get away from the regular things, because it's been 5 years that I never gone anywhere on an airplane. So then it was very special to make that trip, and even for my mom. And I was really thankful, because my mom had not been feeling right. She has like severe back pains, and so she can't sit for so many hours, but it takes like 13 hours for you to fly out to Korea, right? We had a night flight, red eye, so then that means we fell asleep part of the time, which was very helpful, but still I wasn't sure if she could endure, but she did, and I was really thankful. So like there are so many things that I feel that God was blessing us with, and so I am thankful for those. And coming back, we had piles and piles of work. We had meant to stay there for only 2 weeks, but then it got extended because things were not, making progress as fast. And then we stayed there for a month, and coming back home, there were so many things to take care of, like work piled up, and bills to pay and everything. So then I didn't get to really celebrate very much. Like it was like jumping on a treadmill that was already running. So then now I'm celebrating with you, even for this couple of minutes, right? So His provision, wisdom, grace and mercy, protection, and I think we sometimes just need to stop, I'm sure you've done hiking, right? And there are times I'm like a person, I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the top with other people. I'm not sure if I can keep up with other people, so that's my concern. So when I go hiking, I'm not very good at enjoying the scenery, talking to other people and things like that, I'm just like, all right, I have to get to the top and keep up with these people and then come back down at a certain hour, so that I don't get to really celebrate and enjoy, right? So I think, yeah, I think we need to be intentional about this. So then it makes sense that God created Sabbath. All right, so don't take out even your animals. Don't make them work, right? Don't make yourself work, because when you're working, you're making other people work because you're connected. And when you're working, even your animals cannot rest. Yeah, because in the past, they used to use like horses, cows, and things like that to work on the field, right? To make them do certain work. And if you are to go out somewhere, horses were or donkeys were transportation, and so that they don't get to rest, right? So there's a reason God said, you know what, refrain from working for your sake, because you need to recharge. Like if you just run, a battery runs out, right? And you have to charge. Okay, do some charging, and then celebrate with me. Enter into my presence, so that you're not like a rat race all the time, and just be with me to enjoy what I have created. So I think Asian work ethics, the standard is pretty high, and I think our parents are very good at why are you not studying? Have you done your homework? Have you done this? Have you done house chores, right? But they're not saying, oh, you know what, just call it a day and just rest. I think we might need that a little bit in our lives. So that's what Sabbath, keeping the Sabbath day holy. Like, what do you mean, keep the Sabbath day holy? It means rest, enter into His presence, and celebrate. And sometimes when we're not resting, we cannot quite enter into God's presence. Where God's presence is everywhere, even in this room, around you. Even if you don't believe in God, God's presence is there. But enter into His special presence, because this world, ever since Adam and Eve sinned against God, is not perfect. God's presence is not fully taking over here. There's darkness. There's troubles and darkness out there, right? So we're living in a fallen world. So enter into His special presence by letting go and giving Him the rightful place. Yeah. So that's that. We're talking about curriculum design, right? Curriculum development. And so on page 26, you can see that there are different types of curriculum development. Curriculum design, curriculum development. So number one, could you read it for us, Helen?
Can I use that?
Ooh, it's kind of large. Okay, can you read Tyler's model?
Oh, okay. Tyler's model, developed by the American educator Ralph W. Tyler in 1949,
Mm-hmm.
also known as the objective model, and is among the most widely used.
Widely used, excuse me, curriculum design models.
Design models based on the notion that the objective of education is to develop learning
That is meaningful.
that is meaningful and useful to learners.
Right.
Today's influence on the
Yeah, so education that is useful for learners, like it's not teacher centered, but it's learner work. And then planning is very important. I guess you need to do some analysis, right? Careful analysis in order to plan. Yeah, and also
focuses on maintaining consistency among objectives, outcomes, and educational experience. A linear model that considers four fundamental aspects of developing
curriculum.
curriculums, including the purpose of objectives of education to be achieved, the learning experience required to attain the defined objective, organizing educational activities for effective learning experience, assessing the learning experience.
Yeah, so those four fundamental aspects are very important, right? So purpose and objective need to be clear, and learning experience, you know, so then there's a purpose, how are you going to achieve it? So that process is important. And then organize the activities in order to get there, right? And then, you know, how has learning occurred? How have the students acquired the knowledge? You need to assess in order to know the outcome and the effectiveness, right? So that is Tyler's model. And so it's a concise structure and systematic approach, and there's flexibility because what they're focusing on can be achieved in many different ways, right? And the educators, and which you guys are going to be, right, can develop curriculum for any level utilizing this model. Tyler's model is applicable. And yeah, and then there are, of course, you know, these are strengths, but there are shortcomings as well. For any model, there will be strengths and weaknesses, right? So they analyze the shortcomings. Yeah, so they do not give much importance to social learning. Yeah, it's more centered around like academic learning, right? And their specific learning objectives don't address critical thinking. So yeah, so it's a relatively recent ideas that we encourage students to engage in critical thinking, right? It's not just like, okay, what I say is the information that you should obtain, and that is like the most important part, I think. You know, you need to have some basis, and then upon that, you need to engage in critical thinking in order to utilize and apply that knowledge that you have acquired. Yeah, it doesn't encourage like critical thinking or emotional development. So, especially for people under 18 years of age, they are physically, psychologically, emotionally, socially developing, and so Tyler's model does not necessarily address those issues. And also Tyler's model does not necessarily is mindful of the fact that we came from diverse backgrounds. We came from different ethnic groups, different cultural backgrounds, or different understanding level, or we speak different languages, and Tyler's model does not necessarily address those issues. And so it's very effective, but it does have its own shortcomings, but nevertheless it is very much applicable to all age groups. Yeah, let's talk briefly about college classes, different types and course styles, because well, part of the reason we want to talk about different curriculum models or curriculum development models is because we want to address, or we want to target different types of audience and course styles, right? So on page 21, yeah, so you all have gone to college. That's how you were able to come into this master's program, right? So, what are some of the classes that was memorable? Can you talk about that? Maybe I can give you an example, and while you're thinking about your own. Um, yeah, so one of the courses that was really interesting was a psychology class that allowed, it's not exactly internship, but it is similar to that. So you're invited to, you have a chance of going into what you're basically observing. So you're either participant observation or you're just observing, and you're counting certain words or behaviors and see. It was in my case it was parenting. You know how the parents normally in a natural, well, I wouldn't say it's a natural setting, but you know how they how many words they use or how often they use the same phrase or what kind of actions they take in order to teach the child, you know, to do certain things. You know, hey, move the ball over there. Let's organize this room, or you know, throw the trash in, or things like that. So it was really interesting to sit and watch. It's a laboratory setting, but the mother and child is in a play setting, which tends to make it similar to real life situations, right? And then so I was counting and I was analyzing the data. So that was like a hands-on experience. I've never done like a hands-on research. Like I've done you know, book research, you know, based on searching for the bibliography or references. But I haven't done like, okay, I haven't gone out like to interview people or observe such settings. So it was meaningful in my third year doing observation and you know data analysis. Also, it was not my college course, but it was my graduate school course where we had one-way mirror, meaning so the therapist or therapists and the actual clients are in a separate room, and so like you get to do both if you choose to. You can be a therapist providing therapy for the clients, and then in the middle of the session you're called out, and so you get to discuss with your professor, your instructor, and then the classmates about what you've done, what you did well, what can be changed, and then you go in again to apply that. So and you get to do that for 10 weeks, and that was really helpful. So I had another partner, co-therapist, and there was a couple who brought in with their marital issue, and we were able to help them out, and just being coached by the instructor and also the groups of classmates. They were really encouraging, and they were really providing positive, constructive feedback. And so the couples actually at the end said that they were really touched, and they picked up a very practical tool, a communication tool, to that they started applying in their communication with each other. So yeah, that was a great experience. That was like a good course. Have you had? It doesn't have to be like that special. Do you remember like any course, college course that where you felt like either you really enjoyed or oh, you know what, I really learned a great deal out of the course. Learning was really effectively done. Daniel? college 어디서 이렇게 이거 정말 잘 배웠다. You know, like I really learned something out of this. Or 그런, do you have any experience like that? No?
business class, they invite like a Jewish brand owner to come to present to us, like, and then she shared the recipes and all the things, and let us to try her drinks. Yeah, I explained, how she grew her business and to right now. Yeah, so we learned a lot of her career, how she building her career, and it's really inspiring, but also it's totally different experience for us to see how the business going on and how it will become successful and other fundamental things.
Right, yeah, just seeing an actual person who has done a business successfully. Yeah, great. Just that person coming in is special, right? Because
because we tried that brand before and we never expect the owner would come to us. And, she bring like a bunch of new product and other things. Like she's not only giving us the presentation, but also let us to get our feedback about her products. And it's really it's not like a simply presentation, but also she wants to get the feedback from all the things and all of her potential customers. It's really business.
Oh, great. Yeah, what a learning experience, right? I think that sometimes tells you more loudly than the textbook, right? Although textbooks are very important too. And yeah, great, awesome. Yeah, so then it was more of observation, right? It's like observation, vicarious experience, yeah, stories. Stories are helpful, right? Yeah, actual cases. Okay, so it's like more of a combination of case study, right? Not exactly, but you could do a case study, right? After hearing this person doing the presentation and asking, were you given a chance to ask questions?
Yeah.
And
but another one, so.
Right, but then if you have any questions, did you ever experience any obstacles, or how did you select your flavors in the beginning, right? Or how did you choose a spot, like the first shop, or how did you do the interiors? What did you have in mind? Because you're not just making it pretty, but I guess interiors sometimes it speaks to your customers, like this is what we are about, right? So I've been to this coffee shop slash they also sell sandwich shop, and they had so many good sayings, at their counter, on the walls, even in their bathrooms, and wherever although it was not a fancy restaurant or coffee shop, I was pretty much inspired sitting there. Oh, you know what? These people are thoughtful. They work for something. The purpose that I agree with. They want to provide people with their sandwiches and coffee that will give them energy, that will give them joy, that will give them a moment of break, and have some time to reflect on just rest and reflect on their life. So that's pretty meaningful, and they want to put their heart into the food, and you could feel it. So then it's like in your case study, storytelling, and then let's see. He or she obviously brought in visuals, right? Like the actual product or pamphlets, right? And then, and then the conversations, right? Discussion. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that your instructor laid the foundation before inviting this person. There was probably some kind of fundamentals that she laid out or he laid out, like these are the concepts, basic business concepts. And what was the course about? Was that like a
More like a marketing.
marketing? So marketing concepts. He probably brought in marketing concepts and okay, so marketing is, you know, the definition of that and how to do marketing effectively, what has been proven effective based on the research, right? He probably laid out all the foundation, and then this person being brought in is like, oh, now it starts making sense. Like whatever the definitions and concepts that we learned, now it makes sense because this person is doing a live presentation of how those concepts actually work in a real world, right? So real life example. Yeah. I think these are really effective in other, it doesn't have to be business, but it can be applied to other kinds of, other kinds of fields, right? Fields of study. Great, so then the common courses are, divided into lower division. Can you remember? Oh, all the general education, English, composition, philosophy, some math, science, and I used to think, oh, you know what, in social studies, I used to think, oh, you know what, I wish I could just focus on major classes because those are going to be very practical versus like I sometimes don't know why I'm studying science, but I think it helps us to be a well-rounded person. I think we need more of that, English literature and things like that, rather than knowing just a little, rather than being laser focused on our major areas. So I think it was really helpful. So there's a major difference between a college graduate versus high school graduate in terms of the scope of understanding there's a major difference. And college students and master's level students, they also have different level of thinking, which is going to make a difference. Yeah, so lower division, upper division, major. And then course styles, there could be lecture, seminars, or individualized, courses. Have you ever had like an individualized course? Yeah, usually it's like a professor and you can spend a lot of time at home or at the library doing the research and bring in the results and talk with the professor. So like it's usually done more at a doctoral level. Yeah, but that is considered as like an in-depth learning because you have it's not like general education, it's your major area, particular area, and you're discussing with the person who is the most knowledgeable, right? Yeah, so all these things and field trips, these are good ways to learn, and you can develop a curriculum targeting based on what kind of course that is, right? If it's a lecture, if it's a seminar, if it's a field trip, like a field experience, right? Or if it's an individualized study, then depending on that style, you can adjust your curriculum, right? So having said that, we're going to continue on to talk about there are other models that are very effective, and we'll, if we have time, we might be able to develop a curriculum on our own, like a very simple thing, right? In a simplified version of a curriculum, okay? So let's close with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your guidance, your protection, and grace and mercy that we sometimes forget to celebrate. Thank you for giving us all the blessings for this past month, and help us recognize more. And may you go before us and be our rear guard. whether we realize or not, our life is in your hands, and we thank you for your grace one more time. May you protect and guide and bless each student in this classroom and bring us back safely next time. Thank you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right. That's good to see you. I wasn't sure if I would be able to see you. That's a good thing.
Okay, alright. Who hit you or who did you hit?
Yeah, so it was, I stepped on the brake. It was very slow, going very slow, like 5 miles per hour, but my foot slipped from the brake, and so I tried to put it back, but it was too late, so.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a minor thing, but still, it was really